You want a homestead. Don't start in winter. You'll never keep going. Morning, everybody. So we're gonna have a really interesting day today. I have just signed up for a class on YouTube on how to boost my YouTube channel. And so I'm going to be looking for you all to send me some comments and some ideas and some thoughts of what you'd like to see on the channel, how we can make it a more enjoyable experience for you, as well as just some common questions that you might have. So we'll see what happens this week. For right now, it's time for me to get ready to start milking. Snow in the boots. Not fun. Whew. Okay. We're getting a little bit of a snow event. I wouldn't call it a blizzard by any means. But as you can see, it's snowing out. Okay, let's go do this. Today, Daisy's not going to get any alfalfa. Let's see how she does with that. My daughter is sick, so I'm going to take care of her chickens today. You want a homestead. Don't start in winter. You'll never keep going. You see snow on your cows, that's a good thing. Don't see snow on your cows when it's snowing like it is right now, that's a bad thing. Why? Well, if your cows are insulated with enough body fat and thick fur, their body heat is not escaping, which means it's not melting the snow. If their body heat is escaping, then they're freezing to death, and they're going to melt the snow on them. So not a good situation. You want to see snow on your cow. I mean, unless, of course, you live in Florida, in which case you don't want to be seeing snow on your cow, because that just means a whole other set of problems. So I'm giving a bucket here of alfalfa and sweet feed for our heifer and for our beef cow because they need the meat. Daisy is definitely slowing her production down. She's not even filling up yet. There we go. Now she's filling up. Yep, she's filling up now. So you want to get started on a homestead. Don't know how. Well, like I said, don't start in the winter. Spring or fall is best. Summer is okay. But you know, each season has its own challenges. Don't start with a cow. They're they're a large animal, they're expensive. You know, it really also depends on what your situation is like. Are you living on several acres? Are you living in an apartment? So it just really depends on where you're starting. Start with a couple of potted plants, maybe an herb garden on your kitchen window. Or out on your patio. You know, you can even start homesteading by supporting a local farmer. You can volunteer at their farm. I'm sure farmers don't mind extra help, especially volunteer help. Don't mind it at all. It's actually very encouraging. But it also gives you a chance to get to know what it's like to homestead before you start your own. When we started, I didn't know anything about cows. I don't recommend you start that way. I learned a lot on YouTube, but you know, YouTube's not the same as hands-on. So what farm animals should you start with on your farm? You know, hands down, pretty much everybody agrees. Start with chickens. Start with just a few egg-layer chickens, like 5 maybe. You know, don't start with a rooster. And I would recommend don't start with the tiny baby chicks, because you don't know if you've got a rooster there. Start with somebody's chickens that are already laying, adult chickens. That way you get eggs right away. Something though to remember, if you do get adult chickens that are laying or have been laying, give them about 3 or 4 weeks to decompress or stress before they actually start laying for you. You might get a couple of days of eggs, and then all of a sudden the chickens will stop laying, and you might think, man, you got scammed. No, the chickens are just going through stress with their new environment. Give them about 3 or 4 weeks to just kind of get used to you, their new environment. Try not to change their feed. And keep a really good steady routine. You'll get back into eggs soon. But, you know, give yourself and them some time to adjust. Figure out a budget for yourself, your family. Realize no matter the animal or the garden, you're gonna spend money on this venture. The larger the animal, the more expensive. I'm not talking about like just, hey, easy. Jerseys versus Angus or Herefords or, you know, Holsteins. No, cows versus chickens. Cows are more expensive than chickens. They just are. They eat more, obviously, their stomachs are bigger. Trying to get this girl to slow up. I'd like her to be down to a gallon a day at the end of the week. Don't think that's going to happen, but...
And without me. What is great and without me?
So you want to start a homestead, but you don't know how to go about doing it. You know, like I said, volunteer at a farm, you know, just a small homestead. Find one that is similar to what you're looking for. Get to know the farmers, volunteer with them, and volunteer, you know, a few days a week. And then figure out your budget. Even a garden takes money. Chickens, you know, there's the cost of bedding, there's the cost of feed. But chickens are definitely the cheapest way to start out. You're looking at a feed bag, depending on what you're looking for, anywhere from $10 for a 40 or 50 pound bag for the cheap stuff, all the way up to $35 for the organic. So,
Josh should give his chickens any water.
yeah, he did this morning. I saw him.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.
How to get started homesteading? That's a good question, and it's an exciting question. But there's a lot of thinking involved, and if you're that type of personality that just gets kind of stuck in the details, I can totally understand. So I want to just help you out with just a couple of thoughts to help you get past that almost choking reflex of getting so bogged down in the details that you actually never get started. There's no preparation required. You can go ahead and get started homesteading. There's going to be flops, there's going to be failures, there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, there's going to be super success, and there's going to be super failures. So there's some things to think about. Homesteading is, I think the basic concept of homesteading is the idea of being self-reliant on your property. And that may be anything from worm compost, developing a worm compost bin. You can use that for fertilizing your plants, your garden, and you don't have to have a very big garden in order to really find some benefit in that. There's a couple of plants to think about to prevent you from wasting whatever space you do have. For instance, if you only have maybe a 4 foot by 8 foot plot of ground to work with, I do not recommend you do corn, because corn takes up a lot of space and it doesn't provide you with very much in return. However, tomatoes, on the other hand, one plant can produce, 50, 60, 75 tomatoes. So there's a huge return on one plant. By the same token, peppers, green peppers or jalapenos, I've had really good success with jalapenos, will provide me with more peppers than I'll ever use. Onions, I would not recommend, because they are a one-time use plant. You plant a onion seed, you grow one onion. I don't know why I have tomatoes on my brain. And then the same with garlic is a little bit different, and each of these can propagate on their own, but if you're looking for a return for 1 year for your family, onions are not going to be a very wise use of space. This is my opinion. Corn is not very wise. If you don't have room to allow things to just grow out and go crazy, I don't recommend squash. However, cucumbers, if you can get them to grow up, even at an angle a little bit, and just kind of have the cucumbers hanging down, that's a great use, because you're going to get several plants or several fruits per single plant. One of the things that I love growing are flowers. You can do really well for selling flowers, bouquets of flowers. Sunflowers are really popular, but they take up a lot of space, especially if you get the really, really tall ones. They can grow, 2.5 feet around as far as shade and plant space goes. There's just a ton of space used by sunflowers. Another possibility would be to use herbs. Herbs are very forgiving. They grow really well in pots, and most herbs, especially your Mediterranean herbs, really want an arid Mediterranean climate. So they're very forgiving as far as not getting enough water, getting too much sun, getting too hot. Don't neglect them, but still they're very forgiving. There are some herbs that do best in moist and humid environments. So just, check your plant, but, and herb and figure out which one you like best. Some of your herbs, keep them potted because they will take over. So these are just some things to think about. Like I said, if you've got a 4x8 sheet of ground, you can grow lettuce, and I highly recommend the type of lettuce that is like a cut and come again. So not head lettuce, because you cut the head, you're done. But if you get lettuce like a leaf lettuce, you can keep cutting it and it will keep growing. The other thing to think about, and check out M.I. Gardner, Luke at M.I. Gardner. A lot of times you can get 3 different plantings from a single garden plot. You get your early spring plants going, you get a harvest. And then feed your garden space again, and once those plants are done, get your summer crop going. You should already be thinking about what seeds you're wanting to plant for your spring and summer plantings. Once you've got your seedlings for your summer garden out, ready to go, put them out. They're tiny, they don't take up a lot of space, and so you finish up your spring, pull them out by the time your summer needs more space. Your summer plants would be like peppers, tomatoes, things that really like the hot. Another plant that I highly recommend would be a Swiss chard. Swiss chard does tend to take up a lot of space because it's a big plant, but it's very, very beneficial, and you can keep cutting it, it'll keep coming back. Swiss chard, kale, things like that, they will go right up until they can't grow anymore because the snow is burying them. So they're wonderful for a garden because they'll just grow all the time. They have a hard time in the summertime, so, help them out a little bit. So I don't recommend cauliflower or broccoli. They're hard to grow, and once they're done, they're done. They're not going to keep giving you, plants. So like I said, this is just if you have a single 4x8 bed. Think about how you can overlap your plants. Think about how you can intersperse beneficial herbs, even beneficial flowers. Marigolds, look into marigolds. They're very, very beneficial for drawing in pollinators, but keeping away other pests that don't like the smell of marigolds. There's other plants you can plant, dill, and they will deter some pests and draw in other pollinators, beneficial insects. Remember, beneficial insects are not just pollinators. Sometimes they are predatory for the problem insects. So those are some things to be thinking about. But if you're wanting to just get started homesteading at the very basic level, start with just a tiny garden and start with a worm compost bin, and then add your scraps from your kitchen to your compost bin. Do that for a while. While you're doing all of this, kind of get a blueprint idea overlay of your entire property, however big, however small, and figure it out in sections as to what makes sense. Now, if you just moved, I really strongly recommend your first year, maybe even 2 years, don't get any animals. Just maybe start a little bit of a garden that is easy to move if you decide, hey, I don't like this spot, it's not efficient. You need to figure out where your water is going to run off, where your sun hits the land the best. What is easiest from where your house is. Are your dogs going to be a problem? Mine are, so I have to base my property around my dogs. Just things like that, and think about that. Take your time. There's no huge hurry. Because all of this time that you're working trying to figure out blueprint for your own home and what works best on your property, you can be volunteering at somebody else's farm during all of this. You can be purchasing your food from the local farmers market. So there's a lot of things that you can be doing that get you started on your homesteading journey that don't require you to have the biggest and the best barn built, a milking stanchion that would, make the best of us jealous, the best of everything, and, an 1.5 acre size garden. You don't need to start at that level. A few pots, a little bit of a compost area, and then just helping out with other farmers and going to the local farmers market. That's where it starts. It just starts as simple as that. From there, you can grow. I would recommend do one big project per year. Little, maintenance stuff, you're never going to get away from that. There's always going to be a ton of stuff. And you're going to find as you get bigger, maybe sometimes you're going to put off a big project for that year and just focus on maintaining what you've already got for that year. Maybe it's going to take a couple of years before you start on your next big project. Winter time is an amazing time to start making plans, but be realistic. Figure out what's going to fit in your budget. Start small. If you have small children, don't go crazy and get the goats and the sheep and the pigs and the cows and the chickens and the ducks and the geese and the turkeys. Start small. Start with just a few pots and have your kids help you and just kind of go from there. Have your kids learn about composting. Have your kids learn about beneficial bugs and bad bugs, beneficial herbs and other herbs and flowers, and have them learn with you and take them on that journey with you. When you have small children, that's not the time to be learning how to milk a cow. That's the time to just be kind of beginning this journey at their level. Grow with them. I know there's a lot of panic these days with the empty shelves. I do get that. I understand that. But also remember, you can burn your whole family out and yourself too if you decide you're going to go crazy and then discover it's too expensive, you can't afford it. That's not helping anybody. There are enough of us farmers out there that are still working. We are producing in abundance. There's enough of us out there. Find us on Facebook. We're out there. So if the shelves at the grocery store are empty, contact a farmer. You're still going to spend money. But a lot of times, farmers are willing to barter volunteer help for maybe some of the things that they produce on their homestead, whether it's meat or vegetables or dairy products. There's a barter system that we farmers do use. We can't do it all the time because bartering does not pay the electric bill. So just keep that in mind. But there is something to be said for bartering and helping one another out. If you focus on giving more than you're getting, you're going to discover that you're always going to get more than what you give. So that would be my recommend on how to start homesteading from scratch. Take your time. Don't jump into this. Don't go crazy. But don't be overwhelmed and think you can't do it either. If you don't have a green thumb, go check out some weeds. And I know that sounds crazy. But there are so many weeds that are actually very beneficial for our immune systems. That's kind of a big deal these days, isn't it? Really big deal on detoxing our systems. And I realize not everybody has a green thumb, but that's kind of the benefit with weeds. You don't really have to do much with them. There's a couple of weeds. Check them out. Plantain, also known as white man's foot. And that's not to be weird about color and stuff like that, okay? It's just known as white man's foot. And there's a cool history on that plant. But that plant is super beneficial. It doesn't taste the best. However, really, really good for bee stings and as a healing poultice for bee stings and bites, stuff like that. It draws out toxins. Dandelions. Don't mow your dandelions. Did you know that every single part of the dandelion is edible? Not that it tastes good, but it's edible. Okay, so check out dandelion tea. You don't have to have a green thumb to grow dandelions. Check out clover. Clover is very, very beneficial in a lot of different respects. You've got wild lettuce. You've got wild spinach. Lamb's quarters. Check that one out. That one is known as wild spinach. It grows everywhere. Okay, so there are some things that you can learn with your kids, with your family, and just learn about these weeds. You know, if you had nothing and actually had to go out to your front yard to eat, You'd be surprised how much food you're mowing when you get on your lawnmower, how much food you're actually mowing down. So go check out Beneficial Weeds. There's a couple of books out there, Lost Book of Healing Remedies, cool book. Go check that out. Forager books, mushroom, different things like that you can just go forage for. So check those things out. This is how you begin your homesteading journey. It's not a big deal. Start. Just take a first step. Get online. Look for a farmer nearby, a homesteader nearby, and give them a call and see if they've got something that you can do. Facebook pages, homesteaders. Look up homesteaders. Maybe look up homesteaders in your state or in your country or province, wherever you are. Look up for homesteaders and then see if you can get in contact with them. They're going to be the ones that are going to be able to help you, maybe give you some added resources, mentor you, things like that. Okay, so I hope that this has been helpful on how to get started homesteading from scratch when you don't know anything. As always, subscribe so that you don't miss any more videos, upcoming videos, because I do have a lot coming up here pretty soon. And hit a like, it's always very encouraging. And then if you have questions for me, leave a comment. I will respond. I get those notifications. And then I'm going to kind of take you along on my journey as I'm learning about how to grow my YouTube channel to better impact you, my audience, so that you're getting more out of each vlog that I make. And I'm just going to be learning, and I'm going to take you guys along with me. For now, it's time for me to get ready to go get some hay for the cows, fill up their water containers, and get started with my day. So have a happy, wonderful day, and happy farming, everybody.
Even if the sky is falling down.